Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of the Flight Path SDI's podcast on everything UAS. Here, I'm just with James today. We got James McDanolds. How's it going today?
Outstanding, but I think I think we're in for a good one today, especially with our current guests that we have for today. But we'll get through the introductions first before I get too excited.
Okay. Well, I hope we can handle it, just us two. So, but today, who do we have?
So we have Jeremiah, and please correct me if I'm sorry for the last name part. Contreras, right? Cool, got it. Just want to make sure I'm
Yep.
getting the last name right. So Jeremiah has been in the drone industry for quite some time, about 8 to 10 years. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he's been a service technician. He's also run his own business as well, but now he's part of the FlyGuys. Jeremiah, can you tell us a little bit more about the FlyGuys, what they do, how you got involved, and also just a little bit about yourself? How'd you get involved in the drone industry? What got you started?
Yeah, definitely. So, like most pilots, and it's nice to meet you all. I'm Jeremiah. Um, like most pilots, I started out with real estate, photography, and videography, and then I started to become more exposed to the mapping and the data side of the industry, and that's when I moved on to agriculture, having an approach in agriculture where they use indices like NDVI and NDRE and multispectral. So I started getting into that, and then I actually became a network pilot at FlyGuys. So I signed up for FlyGuys. I was a contracted pilot at FlyGuys. And while I was contracted with FlyGuys, there was an opportunity that came up to become an internal LiDAR pilot. They offered me that opportunity. Knowing that that is one of the most advanced levels of data capture, I jumped on it. At that point, I was like, man, I'd done a lot of other 2D, 3D mapping, multispectral, some thermal mapping. I hadn't done LiDAR, so I was like, let's do it. I jumped on it. I was one of the first internal pilots at FlyGuys, and what that looked like for me at that time was being on the road for 3 weeks and then being off a week. So for 3 weeks, every day straight, I was on the road, driving across the United States, flying different mapping missions. It got to the point where it was no longer, I was no longer able to track my flight hours. That's how many flight hours I was flying a day, out for 8 to 10 hours, doing many different types of data capture, from 10-acre lots to thousands of acres. And I then moved on to a managerial position. Now I manage the pilot experience department. Essentially, we handle 4 pillars. So the first one is onboarding. So onboarding pilots into our system. Demand planning, which is funneling more pilots into our system. We specifically do this for sparse areas, but as a whole, we want more pilots to join our network and be able to take advantage of the opportunities that we have. And then the other 2 pillars are training and development. So we develop SOWs, SOPs, client-specific training videos, and then pilot development. So developing pilots through resources that we have, getting exposure to them, and helping them break through into the industry. And yeah, it's kind of what we do. That's what we handle. And then we also provide pilot support. So everything from technical questions in the field to questions about our portal or mission coordination questions, we handle all of that via phone and email. So it's essentially a department that revolves around the network of pilots and supporting them. And what FlyGuys is a marketplace. So we are a reality data capture marketplace. And sometimes we can get mistaken for a DSP, a drone service provider, and we're not. We're a reality data capture marketplace, and we're a 2-sided marketplace. So on one side of the market, we have our clients that are looking for data. They're the data seekers. And then on the other side of the market, we have our remote pilots or even other data capturers that provide the data. We handle the client relationship. We manage the operation. The pilots are able to accept a mission or deny a mission, and then they capture the data, deliver the data. We process it. They get paid. It's essentially that.
So I got to ask a little bit of a follow-up, and wow, that's a lot of flying in just 3 weeks time.
Yeah.
To get to the point, it's like, I can't even track my flight hours. Holy cow. But for FlyGuys as an organization, like how like understanding all that it does, like how did it get started? Like how does it support the enterprise clients at the scale that it does, if I may ask?
Through a team that we have more than just mission coordinators and drone pilots. We have an amazing marketing team. We have an amazing sales team that is constantly um, out there in multiple industries, looking for the clients for us to service, and as well as a QA/QC team that QA/QCs data, mission coordinators that coordinate the missions, and then all the way down to us pilot experience that support the pilots along the way. So having all of those key players and key departments working together is how we're able to scale and provide a service at such a high level to the industry and clients in the industry.
Got it. Understood. So walk me through it a little bit. You explained it pretty well initially, but I'm kind of curious from the pilot perspective. So say I'm signed up, I'm a pilot in the FlyGuys network. How does it work for me? What do I see when there's a client opportunity that that FlyGuys has that for a contract? How does that process work from the pilot's perspective?
Yeah, definitely. So the first thing a pilot would do is sign up in our portal. Our portal is completely free and it's a network of drone pilots and other data capture specialists. And we have about 17,000 remote pilots and participants in our network. So essentially, it's as easy as going to our website and creating a profile. What you would do during that process is fill out your personal information, fill out the equipment that you own, your capabilities, answer a questionnaire, upload your Part 107, and then from there, it comes to my department. We assign onboarding badges, Part 107 verifications, and you're good to go after that. Once you're done being onboarded, you're ready to accept missions.
That's pretty
How'd you
awesome.
guys start? How'd you
Which
guys
one
get
first?
started doing all this?
Um, Fly Guys or myself?
FlyGuys.
Yeah, so Fly Guys, I think we're about 7 to 8 years old. It started out, targeting construction, and it was just on a much smaller scale, but it was essentially providing a drone service, and it scaled to the point where it was outside of the region, and we needed to start to contract pilots, and that's when we started to develop a network of pilots. And it allowed us to spread our footprint across the United States as opposed to just staying regionally. So FlyGuys is actually based in Lafayette, Louisiana, and we have pilots spread out across the country. We have jobs all across the country. And that's essentially how it started. It just started small regionally, and the opportunities grew, and we grew our network with it. And then the whole idea was, we're going to contract pilots, coordinate missions, handle everything related to aerial data capture so that the clients can sit back, wait for their data and receive their data.
So as a pilot, then really, when say if in the network I get a contract, essentially I'm going and just capturing the data and then uploading the data. It's FlyGuys that are handling the compartmentalization, the organization of that data, and getting it over to the client. Is that right?
That's correct. We assess the client's needs. We handle all of the administrative work, the client relationship, and then we coordinate the mission. Essentially, the pilot will receive the mission. They'll decide, do I want to accept or do I not want to accept? And if they accept it, they go out, capture the data, upload it, we process it, deliver it to the client, invoice the client, and the pilot gets paid. It's a very unique situation, and what we've seen is that pilots love this model because some drone pilots become drone pilots because we want to be outside. We want to fly a drone. And when you start a business sometimes, you realize that flying a drone is 10% of being a drone pilot.
I gotta say, you piqued my interest even more on the factor, because like thinking like if you had to do this like directly for a client instead of through FlyGuys, there's so much more steps involved that takes so much more time. You have to have so much more investment for like the software to try to process and post-process the data to organize it, because it can be gigabytes and terabytes of data that gets collected. It's so much additional cost and effort. And maybe like you said, you want to be a pilot, you want to get out and fly, you want to make sure that you're going out, exercising the aircraft, if you will, gathering the data and getting some more flight time and growing your expertise as a pilot of the aircraft that you have. But you don't necessarily always want to have to deal with the after of it besides uploading the data that you have. And I think that makes it a lot easier for individuals who want to make some passive income or even make it a primary income if there's enough client tasks and jobs in the area that they're getting. And it's a good opportunity, to be honest. Now, my other question on this is our aircraft provided, or is it the individual, the pilot, who has to have their aircraft and say, here's what I have, here's what my capabilities are?
So essentially, do the pilots have to say, this is my aircraft and my capabilities? Is that what you're asking?
To know, like, okay, here's the contracts that they qualify for.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the different types of equipment that you have and that you attach to your profile is what's going to decipher the opportunities that you have. We handle and again, the unique thing about FlyGuys is it's very unique. We handle many different types of data capture across many different industries, where some people can be more, some companies can be more niche and service only a specific industry or only provide a certain type of data. We do everything from standard marketing up to LiDAR and bathymetrics and everything in between. So if you're a pilot with, let's say a standard drone um, like a DJI Mini, you're going to be good for some standard mapping missions, some marketing materials, real estate. But if you're a pilot with an enterprise drone, now you're opening the opportunities that you have. Now you're able to get into some construction work, some utility work, do high accuracy mapping, and you're able to start making your way into data capture. So it's definitely dependent on the equipment. Again, there's RGB, thermal, LiDAR, multispectral. Having diversity in equipment and capabilities is definitely going to open the door to more opportunities to you in our portal.
So if you're like a beginner drone pilot, such as myself, this is kind of a great way to get your foot in the door, because you can just find a simple job, see what you can handle, and kind of learn from there and kind of get your direction and support throughout that all.
So absolutely. I think one of the best things about FlyGuys for new pilots and pilots that are just starting their business or starting out in the industry is that you're going to be able to gain exposure to missions and jobs that would otherwise be hard to get on your own. A lot of pilots, when we start our businesses and we're ready to start making money, we're excited, we're ready to go. We start to realize, okay, marketing myself is not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Breaking into the industry, breaking into a particular type of data capture that I want to provide, it's just challenging. And we are able to provide that exposure to pilots, and they're able to gain this knowledge, gain this experience, even take what they've learned from our own scopes and apply it to their personal jobs or their personal work that they're receiving outside of FlyGuys. And we highly encourage pilots to take this material and apply it to your career as a whole, not just when you're working with FlyGuys. But yeah, FlyGuys definitely helps pilots gain that exposure. I could tell you from personal experience, I didn't start to become lucrative as a pilot until I joined the network at FlyGuys. I was, my mind was set on a specific industry and types of data capture, and I had a thermal drone and a thermal sensor, and I decided I'm going to do irrigation monitoring for agriculture. It didn't pick up as fast as I thought it was going to pick up, and it wasn't until I started getting opportunities from FlyGuys that I started to put that thermal camera to work on renewable energies and roof inspections, and that's when I actually started to see my return on investment.
See, that's pretty cool. And also, like, that at the start of this conversation, I was thinking, like, wait, as a beginner pilot, even get started, especially with the opportunities available, my thought process is like, okay, maybe I want to grow my fleet to make myself even more capable or get more contracts. So as I take smaller contracts that, maybe the starter drone or the prosumer drone that I started out with gets me started and gets me a couple contracts, that money coming in can help me save up to get even better, more capable drones that I can then update the pilot profile with and possibly get more opportunities that way to grow your capabilities or even grow that side income or business. And then plus, me being a hobbyist outside of this as a professional job, I would definitely use it to get some more drone toys for sure.
Oh, and one of the cool things about what we do at FlyGuys is when we have, a troubled area or we have a large amount of missions and we need more pilots, in some cases, if you don't have the equipment, the opportunity and the portfolio that is presented to a pilot could justify the purchase of that equipment before they even get the mission. So we could say, we have 20 sites in your location that need to be flown quarterly. You do the math and you can decide, hey, I don't have that drone, but they're saying that if I buy that drone, those jobs are mine. I'm going to buy that drone, and that's going to pay for at least half of it.
And see, that's a big selling. That for me is a selling point, even for me, because like, say if I'm planning on trying, like I want to get an enterprise drone, but they're like in the sub thousands, like $7,000,
Mhm.
$8,000. And like you said, this contract will get a return of like maybe, and obviously these aren't like the set numbers, but we're
Yeah,
giving examples here. Maybe like it's 5,000 or 5,600, and I'm like, wow, that gives me a discount essentially on this drone if I get it. And then if I'm getting this much for this one contract, there might be one in the future that gets me the same, and then it pays for itself. Yeah, I mean, it makes
exactly.
total sense to do that. And I like what you said on this. It's like it's not like some of the opportunities that you hear out there about these kind of networks is like it's like one thing at a time, but in reality, at Fly Guys, it can what more capabilities you have, more opportunities you have. It's more of like continued, repeatable. A ton of contracts rather than okay, go to this house, get the inspection of a roof, and then come back. You can go and do maybe 20 locations and do
Yeah,
20 scans, 20 construction sites, or whatever the application is. And it's more of a return on that investment and that involvement too. That's honestly, that's really cool.
yeah,
Um, I have a little bit of a follow-up question because, pilots may come in thinking like, "Oh, wow, this sounds really easy to get started," right? And it is. Question is like, what do you expect of operators and pilots when they're working in front of clients, interacting with clients, and so forth, when they're on site and doing those operations?
yeah. So what we expect from the pilots when they're
Oh,
on site and performing operations? Yeah, so we
yes.
definitely what we do, so before a pilot even gets to the field, we do our best and our most to set them up for success. So some of the things we do for pilots is we're able to provide them a KML in our mission summary, so they could take that KML and know that they're going to have the exact boundary of interest and create their flight plans based off that. Or in some cases, actually a lot of cases, we'll provide pilots with the credentials to log into a flight planning software where the flight plan's already fully made. They just got to show up and perform the flight. So that's what we do to try to help the pilot be successful prior to heading the field. And what we expect them to do is just be professional, to be able to communicate with us on any deviations that they may have or any issues that they might have, and just capture the best data that they can. And that's mostly what we expect from pilots. It's we have some situations and some cases where you may need to have PPE and proper safety equipment, or check in with the client. It's definitely not all the time. Sometimes, a lot of the times, actually, you can just show up and fly. But that's our expectations. We just expect pilots to definitely be professional. They are an extension of us. They are representing us when they're out there. So we do take it very seriously. But our pilots also take it very seriously. They want to continue to work with us, and we do very well with the onboarding and communicating those expectations prior to heading out to the field.
Well, and for me, as not being a professional drone pilot, it's almost like driving for Uber. You want to make some extra money, or hey, you might want to do this for a living. You can choose kind of what scale you want to do it at. Whether you're
Yeah.
just going to work for a couple hours, 4 hours, 8 hours, you can choose. Now, can you explain how people get the jobs, what the process is? I know it's through an app, it's through the desktop, website, browser.
Yep.
How does all that work?
Yeah. So we have our portal. We have a web app on the desktop, and then we have a mobile app on our phones. So the mobile app was released this year, so pilots can see their missions, accept their missions, and do everything on their phone. And then they can actually use communication and all the same features on the web app. So on the web app, you will get an invite. Well, first you'll get an invite via email or SMS, and it would say, hey, there's a new mission available in your area. Do you want to accept it? Yes or no? You can open it, look at the details, look at the pay, the type of capture, and then you can decide to accept it or deny it. If you accept it, you're opened up to more details on the mission. And at that point, you're able to communicate with the mission coordinator. Another great thing about FlyGuys, we have a mission coordinator assigned to every mission that comes to our system. By no means is it automated to the point where we don't have any human presence. There's always someone for a pilot to talk to, but it's primarily the web app that we see pilots use, and it's definitely becoming more common and more normal for pilots to just to accept missions on the application, the mobile application.
I really like all that you've done to really set up a good experience, and also the expectancy of those pilots coming out to respond, and also the support for those individuals in the network, and that also supports the client too. I wanted to ask, like what's the whole overview of the the pilot, your flight coordinators, your mission coordinators, the pilot experience department, you know, what got you wanting to be so invested in the pilot support and success side of all this in the network?
Yeah, it comes down to wanting to provide a full white glove service to our clients and to our pilots. And we just want to make sure that we are applying any sort of assistance to make sure that the mission is completed successfully. And in order to do that, it takes a lot of communication. If you give a pilot just specific parameters and a type of capture and a description, sometimes it's not enough. They need someone to speak to. We need scopes of work, scopes of procedures, and also training videos. So being able to provide the pilot with as much support as possible is where we see our high success rate come in. It's not just a handoff. It's not just you accepted the mission. Here's some text, a text description. Go figure it out, and hopefully it ends up good. It's definitely not like that. We want to be sure that if you have a question, please reach out to us. Do not think that it's just going to go well. Bother us as much as you want. We want to make sure that you guys are successful out there.
If I may, I'm very happy that you're saying all that, because I've in the past, I want to say it was around like 2016, when 107s really were first starting to come out. Like, I was a 333 exemption pilot beforehand, but still, like seeing like a service offering like that, and then it ended up like just like you described, just being a text with coordinates and to show up at the location, and I'm like, and then when I tried to call somebody, no one would answer. I'm like, I'm not too sure about this now. This doesn't seem too professional, because I like, because all this effort that is being put into the structure that you created, like, it's huge. It's not just about going there, collecting the data. It's about having the service, the communications, the soft skills, if you will, to be able to coordinate effectively. And it can be challenging, especially when you're doing it in the way that you have it set up. But you guys have figured out, it really sounds like you guys have figured out a way to make it streamlined so that it's not so much of a challenge. You've figured out the algorithm, if you will. You mentioned training videos. I'm really curious. Like, so for the training videos, what all training videos are they? Are they just onboarding videos? Are they also like soft skill videos? Like, are they application training videos? I'm really curious.
Definitely. So this is my favorite topic going into 2026, because this is we're putting a big emphasis on this, the pilot experience department specifically. We're putting a big emphasis on this in 2026. And right now, one of the things we do is we have a monthly pilot tip video that goes out to in our pilot newsletter to our pilots, but we also do client specific training videos. Sometimes, well, actually, we all learn differently. We have visual learners, and then we have verbal learners. And what we want to do is provide as much material to the different types of learners that come through our portal. So that's essentially what we're doing right now, is creating client-specific training videos. So once you are onboarded and ready to go and you have your missions, our mission coordinators will share those with the pilots. They have many different resources. So you have the mission details, which will give you a ton of instruction. Then you have your SOWs and your SOPs that provide another fail-safe of instructions. And then the last one being training videos. So the training video is the final one. But if you still have questions after that, you always have your mission coordinator to reach out to.
I love what I'm hearing because okay, so for the companies that I've worked in, there's always an SOP, there's always a structure, there's a clear chain of command, there's a clear line of communication. And it was challenging enough to just have that in an in-person flight operations department from time to time, but you figured out
Yeah.
a way to do that at such a large scale, maintain the professionalism and the structure of the flight operations department and operation in a way that you can do it and still meet the client's needs. I may be a little bit overexcited here, but it gets me excited when I hear like, okay, there's actually a following structure for this. There's a support structure. There's written documentation, because in aviation, like that's what you need. If you have those
Oh
SOPs
yeah.
in place, if you have those operating manuals in place, and then that backs up the training material that you're building out to support those training videos for the clients, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
That makes it all the more attractive to be able to work in that environment and get started in that environment. Because for one of our courses, anyway, S202, we talk about aviation management and what a flight out operations department looks like, the importance of SOPs, the importance of tracking fleet maintenance and fleet management systems in the software. And it all dials into exactly what you guys are doing. And it would get a lot of new pilots exposure. Like, here's what is done right in a flight
Yeah.
operation department, even at such a large hybrid level scale and remote level scale too. So that's really huge, to
Yeah.
be honest.
And one of the primary reasons for my heavy involvement in the creation of SOPs and training videos is because I am a pilot. Before anything else, I'm a remote pilot, and I was out there for many years, out in the field capturing data. And I know when you're out in the field, what you want to see, what you don't want to see. There's a lot of fluff in some stuff, and when you're out in the field, you just want your materials to get straight to the point. You want it to be easily accessible, and that's what we aim to provide to our pilots. And yeah, it's been a huge focus, and we're excited to provide more support and training in our portal in 2026. We're working on some learning management systems and some more materials that can only be accessed if you are a pilot in the portal. And I think primarily what pilots expect from us in terms of value is jobs and missions, but we want to provide more value than just jobs and missions. We want to provide a place where you can go for resources. One of the things we're actually launching this week is an equipment resource. So we've actually partnered with some companies, one company that provides financial support, so business loans and financial support for anyone that's looking to start their drone business or upgrade their equipment. They can use it for private sales if they wanted to buy a used piece of equipment. We have another company that we're working with, and they are providing a discount code to pilots that are purchasing equipment from them. And it's not just drones, but it's also GNS receivers and survey poles, and it goes far beyond drones. And yeah, we're working on a lot of support for pilots and resources for pilots.
I was just gonna say that sounds like a lot of additional benefits for pilots in the network, and
Yes.
that's a good sign, because if you're just getting started, all that support and support structure is only gonna help you grow and learn even more. And that kind of leads me to another question here: is like, okay, say you have a pilot that's just starting out that really only has their Part 107. But what if they come in with either years of experience or a formal education, and maybe they have worked a few years and have specific training through other formats or other institutes for specific applications, like maybe it's just GIS mapping, or maybe it's for NDVI analysis, or maybe it's for even like spraying. I know you didn't mention that one earlier, so I'm not sure if that's
Yeah.
an application that you guys are offering for clients, but or maybe they have that service capability, and then that's another ad because someone and people in your pilot network have it, and then you can offer in an area that they're doing for. Is there any like additional considerations that are put into the profile for that? Because it sounds like you got a really cool training network and support system set up for that.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the things that we've noticed in the industry, with it continuously evolving, is that a Part 107 is is to get your foot in the door. But we're starting to see additional certifications being requested from clients that pilots also need to have. So something like an MSHA, an OSHA, thermal certifications, those are all big ones. And sometimes when the client requests a pilot, they're requesting Part 107 and one of those types of certifications. So what we have is actually a badging system. So we have a badging system on the back end that we're able to see, and we're able to provide pilots or assign badges to pilots' profiles that will signify that certification that they have. So it can be anything from a veteran or someone with a thermal certification or someone with FPL air certification. It really spans, and it even goes into badges for equipment capabilities. So you can have a thermal badge or a LiDAR badge. I think it'd be cool to have an SDI badge, be
There
able
you
to
go.
identify pilots in our network
I
that's
think
on
it'd be
an
pretty cool.
SDI.
Do you have any gamification badges? Like, hey, most jobs done in a row, or
So
longest
we
job.
don't have those badges yet, but it's on it's being discussed amongst our product team. But one thing that we did do this year is we had our first ever pilot of the year. So we actually identified a pilot in our system that's just easy to work with, spot on with data, accepts missions and completes missions in a timely manner successfully. And we were able to identify a list of 10 pilots and then vote internally to decide who that pilot would be. So we're huge on pilot recognition and giving it back to our pilots and our network and showing that recognition. They're the soul of our company. If we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for our network of pilots.
So with that, what makes a good returning pilot? Like, what are you looking for in a consistent pilot?
A pilot that is number one is communication. And the reason communication is number one is because no job ever goes exactly according to plan. And unless you're able to communicate and you are a good communicator, the success rate of that job will diminish. If you're not a good communicator, it might not end well. So communication is key. Attention to detail is a big one, and safety as well. Again, never goes to plan. You might get out there, you might have a flight route at 100 feet, and there's an obstruction. You might have a cell tower that's 150 feet, and it's being able to work around those situations, communicate those situations to us, and make a best decision is what makes a good pilot. I strongly believe that we're at the point where you don't exactly need to be the most experienced pilot in terms of years, but if you are attentive and you have a good attention to detail and you can understand how to deviate around the situations and issues that you might have when you're out there, that is what truly makes a good pilot. You can identify, this is my issue, this is how I'm going to mitigate or get around this issue, and I'm also going to make sure that I'm doing this while making sure to capture the best data as possible and even identifying if it's good data or not prior to delivering it to us. That's what makes a good pilot. I can't tell you how often it happens where a pilot's just, this is the best I can do. And, we have a QC process. And if it doesn't pass QC, it's going to result in a refly. A pilot that's able to keep all of that in mind and spend a few more minutes out in the field just to make sure that that data is good, that's what makes a good pilot.
And it ties back into what you said earlier. Like, a lot of piloting is 10% actually flying a mission, and the rest of that is preparation and, like you said, communication. And it's something that we try to preach here too, is a highly valuable pilot is not necessarily the most technically skilled one. It is someone who knows how to communicate and
Yep.
communicate well, and also recognize issues and troubleshoot them, not just on the technical side, but for the
Yes.
operation as a whole. It is, as far as a soft skill, probably the top one out there, as well as with, and
Yes.
I'm sure we could get some agreements on this, is adaptability as well, because adaptability kind of goes with that
Oh, yeah.
troubleshooting, because drone industry is always changing, always growing, new processes, new procedures, better sensors, more advanced aircrafts, ways to be able to operate those aircraft. If we need to be able to maintain adaptability in order to get better and offer more and be more capable as pilots in the future too. It's really good that you have that system all set up and you're thinking about this. And it leads me to kind of one of my next questions here is that out of all the applications and services that are provided, what is the highest application that's in demand? Like what application has the highest demand for pilots right now that
Yeah.
you're seeing in your network?
Definitely 3D modeling is big right now. I've seen the different stages we've gone through throughout the years in this industry. I went from capturing pretty photos and videos to capturing a 2D map. And then we learned how to capture 2D maps. We started to reduce our flight altitude to capture more resolution, and then accuracy came to play. Now we're trying to make sure that now a big topic is making sure that you have a high accuracy, and that's doing standard surveying and introducing GNS receivers. And now we're at the point where 3D modeling and digital twins is just big. Being able to uh, render the real world digitally and be able to share that with organizations and stakeholders um, over the internet. It's just huge right now. It's being able to stand in front of that building without actually being able to stand in front of that building, and that's a big one. And with a lot of the efficiencies in the equipment nowadays, it is becoming more scalable. So features like smart oblique and facade captures is making it easier to conduct these 3D modeling operations and be able to process it easier and at a quicker rate.
That's pretty huge. So and you're right, like that brings me to another point of discussion. And this leads on to a bit of a question is that I'm sure there's a lot of other entities out there that want to use the network as a service provider. Well, I know you said
Mhm.
not necessarily the drone as a service provider, but you have the network of capable pilots to be
Yeah.
able to complete the jobs for. And I'm curious because, and we may be getting into like a future considerations discussion here. And if it's off of the subject, let me know and we can pivot.
Okay.
But like I'm very curious of how much this is going to expand as far as demand for pilots even more. I mean, right now there's already a huge demand just from hearing from you for Part 107 pilots. But now imagine what if like for part if and when Part 108 or when Part 108 is released, like being able
Mhm.
to do these operations at scale, even more scale for beyond visual line of sight, and maybe entities like maybe the Department of Transportation coming to you and saying like, "Hey, we need all of the bridges across Pennsylvania I-80 to be, monitored on a routine monthly schedule this month." Do you think with those kind of
Yeah.
changes or with that increasing demand that you could possibly see like even more need for more pilots in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. I always think that we're out of the infant stages of this industry, and then I quickly realized like, oh, we're still in the infant stages, and it's still growing. And uh, I think it's projected to, and by 2030, we're projected to be 160 plus $1 billion industry, and that just goes to show how many industries are dependent on the UAS industry, on our data, on our equipment, on our capabilities. Uh, there are AI companies that utilize the data that we capture, and essentially, we're funneling that data to AI companies, and and that's just a good example of where we're going with this. And on the topic of beyond visual line of sight, I think that there's going to be so many opportunities that beyond visual line of sight is an addition to a career path for anyone that's breaking into the industry. It's very different from operating as a Part 107 pilot. Part 108 is essentially operating a fleet of drones. In the description, there's actually not a remote control. It's more of like a control panel. So it's going to be, it seems like a very advanced operation. And personally, it sparked my interest because I was like, oh, okay, this is like another type of remote piloting. And I'm excited about the job opportunities it's going to open up on a small scale and a large scale. You could be working with in DFR with public safety, or you can be operating an operation from a Walmart for delivery. Now it's just going to expand so much to where it was just I'm a pilot and this is what I could do with my drone, to, oh, I can work for an organization doing this.
I mean, yeah, the possibilities are huge. I mean, even
Yeah.
within your network. I mean, imagine now that maybe your clients have the capability to have the tools, or maybe like drone in a box at a certain location, but they don't have the ability or the capability to train their pilots inside. Well, what if FlyGuys has a Part 108 certificate and trained the pilots and specific pilots in the network? You have an additional badge for like
Yeah.
108 certified, and not just BB loss, but multi UAS operations. And then you have that pilot capability to be able to outsource to these organizations that really need it. Maybe they have the equipment in place, or maybe FlyGuys provides the equipment. Who knows, right? I'm simply throwing out ideas, or like
Yeah.
some thoughts that are going through my head here. Sorry if it's a little bit unfiltered, but
No.
uh, like being able, now you have a whole network of flight coordinators, as they're titled in the Part 108, to have that qualification to fly these beyond visual line of sight. And they don't have to necessarily hire someone full time. They say, as we need it on a cycle, when it's more reasonable for us to do that, as far as like a cost
Yeah.
associated value with it too. I mean, there's so
And
much capability there and
so
opportunity.
the possibilities are endless, and we're already venturing into that realm. We have so many opportunities that don't even necessarily require you to have a drone, just a Part 107 at the moment. We
Yeah.
work in DFR with police stations and public safety, and one of our one of our clients that we've been scaling with throughout the year, and essentially we provide a VO drone and a remote pilot for them to operate and visually observe the drone. And for the most part, it's being operated by another public safety representative in the office. So we're already doing that. We have several locations across the United States. We provide the pilots, and they essentially are able to work with the company that is performing the missions. So we're already to that point, and it's exciting to see how much more we're going to be able to scale, and the opportunities we're going to provide to people, regardless of having a drone or not. Even if you just are in the industry, you have a Part 107, and you know how the industry works, it's enough to get you a $40 an hour job.
At that price, that gets me seriously excited.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because the fact that you guys are already doing like the simulated BV loss setup missions and
Hmm.
practicing beyond visual line of sight control, because as you said, it is a whole different style of flight. And it is no more like stick and rudder or having your eyes
Yeah.
on the aircraft while it's following a preset grid. While I was working with a company in the past, we got a combined waiver to do beyond visual line of sight up to 10 aircraft per operator under multi UAS. It was back in the IPP
Nice.
program, and man, you're right. It changed the perspective on how you monitor, because there wasn't a controller involved. Sure, there was someone on site to swap batteries, be
Hmm.
that, visual line of sight if we needed it initially, until it got over the horizon. But it really was telling the aircraft when to take off and follow its flight plan, loading the flight plan, doing the systems checks, sequencing the aircraft properly at their different locations, making sure that they're not coming within collision with any obstacles or themselves even. So
Yeah.
it's depending on if they're at the same location or completely different locations. And then monitoring all those different system setups, which I would say it feels more like I'm now being, that's why they call it like flight coordinator, because it could be another term for air traffic control, but for drones instead of
Yeah.
man traffic. It's a whole nother style of flying, and that's why they're saying it has that additional training value to it. But the value of return on being and having someone being able to do that is so much greater, so much
Yeah.
higher. It so actually, like, because it leads to equipment questions and discussion, right? So right now, like for pilots, besides having the aircraft and personal protection equipment for the sites that need it, what are the equipment that would you say that is like a really good key to success, or good extras to have for pilots in your network going out and conducting these flight operations?
Yeah, definitely. So a few key pieces of equipment are definitely going to be a laptop that you can have out with you in the field, external hard drive, and just having a very capable drone. A lot of pilots think they're done after the capture. That's definitely not the case. Upload speeds will start to hit you quick if you don't have a good computer, and also there are some data capture practices that we highly encourage pilots to take while they're in the field. So something like an image coverage check. Can't tell you how many times at the beginning of my career I was accepting missions and I was going out to fly them, and I'd get home and realize, oh, I had a camera trigger failure and it didn't trigger during this part of the flight. Now I got to go back to the location, refly again. So key pieces of equipment, your drone, having a landing pad for safety, having a way to recharge, whether it's an inverter that's attached to your car in some way, or a power station or generator. You never know when you might have a longer flight or multiple missions in a day, or you might have needed to capture while you're out there and you ran through your batteries and you don't want to go home and come back the next day. So having a good way to recharge your batteries out there is definitely key. Multiple micro SD cards, can't stress that enough. Having multiple micro SD cards and a solid state drive, a good solid state drive. As the first thing I always do as soon as I'm done flying and have QC'd my data coverage, I back it up onto a solid state, keep it on the micro SD.
That is, can't stress that enough. Backups upon backups upon backups, because digital things can get corrupted and physical things can get lost. So the more backups you have, the better.
You could do everything right, and technology will just be technology.
It'll find a way. It sure will.
Yeah.
I remember going and capturing a site. It was over in the Philippines. It was like 14,000 images.
That's awesome.
Well, not so awesome when we had to drive another 2 hours back out the next day and spend 3 hours flying the site, because 200 of those images got corrupted during transfer, the final 200. So like you said, those things certainly happen, and it is an absolute pain, and it doubles up the time. So I really appreciate what you put out there for extra equipment, and it's like, it is indeed important to have all that.
Definitely.
I'm curious, when you talk about like the imagery overlay, like, what's the process that you as a pilot in the past have used for that, like to check in field before uploading it to whatever organizational database that you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull it up just to double check and make sure I have the correct name, but that is QGIS. So QGIS is a free, lightweight software and easy to download. Once you get it set up and you get a satellite imagery on there, you're pretty much good to go. You don't have to set it up ever again after that. But I really like QGIS because it doesn't require an internet connection. And I could just open it up out there, install my micro SD. I can upload a KML. So I like to upload a KML so that I can make sure that I have full coverage within the boundary. And I'll upload the KML, I'll drag and drop my data. I'll look at my my coverage and make sure everything looks good. If I have any drifting flight lines that are drifting into an adjacent flight line, I know that that could be a potential overlap issue. If I'm seeing the missed data or not, the camera's not triggering accordingly, I know that that space needs additional capture, or I need to just recapture again. But yeah, QGIS is huge, and it's we actually created our internal training video for checking your coverage in the field based off QGIS.
That's awesome. When you said QGIS, it just perked up, because like, oh, yep, used that in the past, and you're right, it is a good tool for that, and the best of all, it's free.
Exactly.
But having the computer in the field to run that and check that all quickly in a timely manner, so you're not feeling the get homeitis feeling, if you will, of like, man, okay, this is all done, I got to finish this up and get back so I can get this loaded and call it a day, right? It's like, no, slow down. Take your time, check it, because if you don't, good chance you're going to have to come out and do this again anyway. So
spending a couple more minutes in the field, making sure that everything is good before you leave, it pays off, and it's well more worth it than having to go back and spend another hour or two the next day.
I agree. And actually, kind of while we're on the subject on like mistakes that pilots can make, right? Besides like not taking the time, not double checking things, being a big one, what other mistakes would you say are kind of common for new pilots getting into this process to have or encounter, if you will?
Yeah. So we provide a lot of information in our mission details. And one of the pieces of information we provide is airspace. So you'll actually see the airspace in the mission. But sometimes pilots don't review the airspace, and there's also TFRs. TFRs can happen at any time. You can be in clear airspace, but there could be a TFR, temporary flight restriction. And if you don't check it, even the night before or the morning of, you might get out there and realize, oh, I can't fly today because there's an active TFR that just came up last night. So checking airspace is a big one. It'll delay a flight. It'll cause a pilot to waste their own gas money driving out there and then having to drive back and go back out there again. So that's a big one. Also, another big one is, again, QCing the data. That's a common mistake we see. We rely on technology a little too much sometimes, and we've come far, but it still has, it could have its issues sometimes.
Complacency, that is a killer of quality.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I agree with you on that. Oh, sorry, Christian. Did you have something?
Well, I was just going to ask, kind of wrapping it up a little bit, a couple things, for
Yeah.
our students and, beginner pilots that are out there. What are really your two most, I guess, in demand, simple jobs, that something that they can kind of focus on to learn and then, have the gumption to go out there and try it themselves?
Yeah, for the most part, anything that's 2D mapping is very straightforward. It's a good starting point for pilots, and we have a lot of 2D mapping opportunities. 2D mapping will start to get your feet wet, and honestly, it's not much more time after that you can start taking 3D mapping missions. It's very similar with just an additional facade capture, which is essentially flying along the side of a building with a 0-degree gimbal and capturing images. After that, yeah, you're pretty much in the weeds after that, and you're good to go. But 2D mapping mission is definitely a good a place to start. We have plenty of those. And then the 3D, which is essentially the same as 2D, just with that additional capture. And we have just a wide range of opportunities like that. So one of our largest portfolios is more than 5,000 missions across the United States. And they're going to be flown either bi-quarterly or quarterly. I can't exactly remember. But essentially, if you have an M3E or an M4E, you apply for these missions. And that is that type of work right there that I'm explaining. So immediately off the bat, you'd be open to receiving reoccurring work. That's gold in the network. I've noticed that pilots, what they really want is reoccurring work. If it's a job or a site or a mission that is the same area, the same capture, and I'm flying it bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, those are the ones they want.
Yeah. So for those viewers out there who are wanting an excuse to buy one of those drones, there you go. So
you'll make a return on investment on that one for sure. On the sounds of it.
Yeah, there it is.
And it's exactly what you said, Jeremiah. And I'm kind of combine what you said with what Christian said earlier about like the gig economy Uber effect. It's like, it's a lot more convincing to do jobs in an area where you have like a constant stream or reoccurring stream of work compared to one-offs here and there. And the cool thing about drone work is, like, normally with Uber or Lyft, if you live in a city or metropolitan area, you're going to get a decent amount of consistent driving for the time that they allow you to drive. But with drones, it's not always just like subject to where there's a lot of people using cars or needing to visit or travel a lot. Like, this kind of work is everywhere. So the versatility of it is more broad and span than I would say even like compared to some of those other gig economies that we discussed.
Definitely.
Just thought I'd bring that up for mention. I find it really interesting. So kind of building on what's being discussed at this point, like, what really should pilots that are getting started in your network focus on for like the first, half a year to a year? Like, building trust within the network, building their quality or their perceived quality as an operator in the network, and to clients as well.
Yeah, definitely. So the big one is just making sure that the profile is fully up to date and has all the necessary information and any little detail that you feel like might be beneficial for receiving more missions. So having your profile completely filled out is a big one, and then completing our onboarding system. Once you get that onboarding badge, you're good to receive missions. Communicate with us. We actually even have an eager remote pilot process that we have internally, where we highlight pilots that are reaching out to us and saying, hey, I would like more work, or I'm ready to receive more work, or I want more in terms of missions. And so we highlight those accounts to our mission coordinators. But for pilots to just make sure that that's up to date, and also be open to taking, if you're a new pilot, you're starting out, I would take anything I can. That's what I used to do. I would take any mission that came my way, regardless of how big or small, regardless of how complex or not complex. I felt like it was those complex missions that I wasn't too sure I could do, or that I probably knew I could do, but it was going to take me a little more time. It was those that really built character. It was those that really built experience. And that's definitely like a key piece of advice I could give to the new pilots is be open and take as many missions as you can, and just level up, scale up from there. We don't forget a reliable pilot, I'll tell you that much. And we will remember you by name, even if your profile doesn't have an image of you on it. We don't need to see your face. We will remember your name.
Yeah. And you could win Pilot of the Year eventually.
Exactly. Yep.
So, well,
Yep.
that's awesome. So finally, Jeremiah, how does one get started doing all this? Where can they go? What's the website? What's the app?
Yep.
Let them know.
Yeah. So we're on the I think we're on iPhone and Android. So you can just search us up in the App Store, FlyGuys, and then our website is flyguys.com. So you would go to our website, flyguys.com, and then you would select Be a Pilot. Once you select Be a Pilot, you can apply now. And from there, you're ready to go. You're ready to get started. And you could even reach out to us directly after that and shoot us a little greeting, and we'll check out your profile and assist you if you need any assistance.
Awesome. Jeremiah, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. It's a lot of good information, especially for our students and our viewers looking to get their start. If you're looking to get some education and your start in the UAS industry, visit sdi.edu today. Click on our apply now, fill out the information, talk to our representatives, get your questions answered. But for James, I've been Christian. Jeremiah, thank you again. And
Thank you
that's
so
been
much,
this
Jeremiah.
week's that's been this week's episode of the Flight Path.
Thank
Thanks
you
a lot.
guys so much.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you,
Drive
guys.
safe.